At the recently concluded Global AI Summit, the CEO of Google said artificial intelligence is the biggest platform shift of our lifetimes. A shift that will completely automate some roles, augment others, and create new roles that don't even exist today. Yet he said something more profound that this outcome, this transformation is neither guaranteed nor automatic. And that's the question that sits at the heart of what's happening right now in 2026. Every day, a new AI capability is making headlines, and we are seeing the same anxiety build up across the board. When we talk to students, data engineers, or even knowledge workers, all are asking the same fundamental questions. What skills matter most today? How do I build them quickly? And most importantly, how do I stay relevant? The bottom line is, how do I grow through this transformation and not just survive it? Growth Talks was built with exactly this question in mind. This is a podcast where we sit with industry leaders, subject matter experts who have been through multiple transformations. We'll listen to their stories and their perspectives on how to ride this wave rather get submerged by it. So get ready to listen in to real journeys, real decisions, real talk. Welcome to Growth Talks. Today's episode, we'll be talking about leading transformation. And I'm super excited to have a distinguished guest with us today to talk to us on this topic. Our guest today is someone who has not only been part of transformation initiatives, but literally had the word transformation in her last 3 job titles. A career spanning for almost 3 decades, she started at IBM in 1996, built her career across sales, marketing, IT, engineering, and led transformation initiatives at Red Hat, Google, Splunk, and today is the Vice President of CRM Engineering and Transformation at Cisco. Our guest blends deep technical expertise with business acumen, solving complex challenges to fuel innovation and impact. She has also authored books and illustration and is passionate about fundraising for sea turtles. We are definitely going to talk about it on the podcast. The most important part, which I'm sure we'll get to see today, is her energy and passion for developing her team and the leadership program that she has created to help unlock growth potential. Friends, I'm thrilled to welcome Chandra Callicutt on the podcast. Chandra, welcome to Growth Talks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Chandra, so I want to deep dive into various facets of transformation today. But before we do that, I would like to talk about your journey.
Sure.
Let's go back to 1996, right? When you walked into your first professional role, the internet was still barely a thing. Can you tell us more about your story? Why did you choose a career in the tech in the first place? How did it come across? And did you even know what you were getting into then?
I didn't know what I was getting in, and I didn't even choose. I didn't even choose tech necessarily. I like to tell people that tech chose me. When I was in college, and even as a little girl, I was always fascinated with the weather. And I grew up in a farming environment, and my grandfathers used to predict the weather based off of just being outside and understanding what the clouds were doing and things of that nature. And it was just fascinating to me. So, actually, what I thought I was going to be was a meteorologist. And in college, one of the most amazing things about meteorology to me was that even back in the early 90s, weather models were all computerized. So, it was sort of the first, I call it the first predictive predictive analytics, right? Which is what's the weather going to be? And I sort of fell in love with it. And so I took a break between my bachelor's degree and my master's degree to just have a bit of a mental break. And that's when I took the role at IBM. And what happened is that I fell in love with it, and I very much wanted to understand more about what is this world of software and hardware, and what are computers, and what does it all mean? And at the time, like, the internet was really just becoming a thing. Like, most people didn't even have home internet connections. I mean, I grew up with my very first internet connection was a 14.4 modem, dial-up modem, right? So it dates me, but that's what I had. So we've come a long way since then.
Awesome. That's fascinating. Meteorologist, who would have thought? In your career, you have crossed sales, marketing, IT, and engineering. It reminds me of David Epstein's book called Range, where he talks about exploring different interests versus specializing early. His
Yeah.
argument is that the most effective problem solvers are people who have worked across multiple domains rather than specialists who went deep into one. Do you think that the range was your advantage? And what would you tell a young professional today about depth versus breadth when everyone is racing to become an AI specialist?
Yeah. I was told I had a career coach very, very early, I think 3rd year into my career, so I was in my mid-20s at the time, and he gave me a really important piece of advice that I didn't understand fully at the time, but the advice he gave was that you always want to get to a point where you can think like a CEO. You don't wanna think like a CIO or a CRO or a CFO. You wanna think about like a CEO. In other words, you wanna know as much as you can about everything that's going on in the organization that you're supporting. And so, he kinda taught me about the importance of perspective, and, what I've learned, and I do, with my team today, and, oh my gosh, all the individuals I've worked with and coached throughout my career, I actually think the multiplier, if we all have a multiplier, I think the number one multiplier I have for myself, and I tell everybody else to get it, is just that, like, is perspective, and the only way you can get perspective is to actually experience different parts of the organization. You can learn it by reading. You can speak to it by taking a class or talking to someone, but until you feel it, it's really hard to really truly understand perspective. And I believe that as you sort of learn something, you gain empathy, right? You start to have empathy for the individuals that are doing that job, whatever that job may be. And with empathy comes influence because now when you're in the conversation with people, let's just say I lead technical projects, right? Technical programs, and I might be working on something where I need the finance team to align with me. The fact that I can speak finance in a way that makes sense to them and put myself in their shoes gives me the ability to influence in the moment. And the ability to influence in the moment then allows me to gain a greater perspective of the entire problem. So, just to sort of repeat that, like for your listeners, like everyone listening to us today, like if you think about it, gaining perspective starts by first gaining empathy. And
Mm,
once you have empathy, you can influence. And then once you can influence, you get perspective. And that allows you to deliver, I think, the best possible outcomes for the organization. And I see it as a huge multiplier for individuals.
that's so powerful. Perspective, empathy, influence.
Yes.
What's your leadership mantra, Chandra? What do you believe is true leadership?
I mean, I think true leadership is showing up every day to find out what problem you need to solve. And I say that because I've worked for leaders throughout my career that I felt had nothing to teach me. And the reality is they probably did have something to teach me, but they didn't show up in a way that I felt as though they even wanted to or even cared to. But I
Mm,
think as I become a leader myself, what I've tried to do is model myself out of what I always wished I had and the best ones that I've worked for throughout my career and try to take away from the ones that I didn't necessarily love as much and try to make sure that I don't do those same things. And so for me, leadership is showing up and asking, how do I help? How can I help today? And I also think leadership is about creating a sense of urgency. It's easy to become very apathetic in our jobs because we do them day in and day out for years, right? Let's face it, most of us join companies and we're at those companies for 3 to 5 to 7, in some cases, 20 years, right? And when you're there for that length of time, you lose that energy that you had when you first joined the organization. When you first join an organization, you're ready to conquer the world. This
yep.
new experience, right? How
Mhm.
do you bring that same energy every single week? If you've been somewhere for 3 years, for 5 years, for 7 years, how do you do that? For me, it's waking up every Monday and saying, why does this week matter? What am I going to do this week that allows me to drive momentum? Because momentum breeds momentum. And therefore, I don't become stale and I don't become obsolete and I don't become apathetic for the cause that I'm driving within my organization. So I think that's sort of how I would sum up the way that I view my job is I wake up thirsty for how I can help. What can I do? What matters this week? And how do I make it happen for my team? I want to be visible. I'm not an invisible leader. I'm super visible because I think that's my job. My job is to be there. I want them to know whatever they need from me, I will do everything I can to make it happen. Right.
This is so powerful. I'm also taking notes in parallel. All right. I also want to talk about transformation. This is today we want to discuss more on transformation with everything going around AI. And
Yeah.
you have been through transformation at scale multiple times at Google, at Splunk, now at
Yes.
Cisco, a new company, new acquisition, the ground's moving under you. Do you have a framework for how you think about it or a mental model you see or you use when things are uncertain?
Yeah. I think there's a couple things that I always do, which is I think in moments of uncertainty, and let's face it, when you're transforming something, almost everything is uncertain. And because it's uncertain, we tend to feel exposed. We tend to feel worried. You might even feel, you know, like you're not going to be able to push through, like you're afraid. You might even be operating out of fear. What I have found to be true of every transformation, and I've been doing them for a long time, is the best thing to do is to make a very rough draft plan and get moving. Because what happens with transformation is that you make a tremendous amount of mistakes because you're transforming. And those mistakes teach you more than you'll ever learn in your whole career. But you want to make them really fast because what you don't have the luxury of doing in a transformative way is waiting, 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 then finally delivering something and realizing that you made all these mistakes and you could have showcased those mistakes months earlier and changed course. So what I always say to the team is, look, this is the project. Let's make sure that the outcomes are clear. I do think that's important in a transformation project. If you don't make sure the outcomes are clear right from the beginning, then everything becomes transformative. You can't transform everything at one time. It's impossible. So you decide what are the true key outcomes that we're driving right now, and you create what I call a rough draft of a plan. You don't need to spend 6 months creating a plan. Spend 2 weeks creating a plan and let's get moving. And then that plan will evolve as we start moving and it will get more and more detailed and more crisp. And the mistakes that we would normally have made 4 months later because we spent all this time planning, will have already made them, known that they were mistakes, made a new decision and be on a new path. I think transformation is about incremental decisions that drive the right behavior and outcomes for the organization. And you have to go at it fast and furious.
Fast and furious. Fail fast and move fast.
Yes. And
Awesome.
the thing is like, think about it, like, decisions are always reversible, but
Mm,
time can never be returned. So when you are transforming something, it usually means there's a sense of urgency driving that transformation. Perhaps it's a shift in the industry like we're seeing now with AI, or perhaps it's a shift in the products and the way you're gonna sell products within the organization working in. Or maybe it's just a merger, right? An acquisition. Whatever the case may be, though, there's only a finite amount of time that you have to capture the energy of the moment. And so if all you do in that finite amount of time to capture the energy in the moment is plan, which I've
mhm.
seen happen a lot, you're gonna miss your moment. By the time you get moving, the moment's past and no one cares. Right? You have to capitalize on the moment. And I think transformations today are the most successful ones are when people just move. Recognize right from the beginning you're going to make mistakes and it's
Mm,
okay. Mistakes are okay. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. And every single mistake can be corrected, but time can never be returned. And that's what I tell my team all the time.
love it. In case of transformation, where do you think the resistance comes from based on your experience? Is it the technology, the culture, or is it something more profound?
It is the culture, it is the people. Like, as humans, we
Uh,
all are gifted with an ego. Some people like to showcase their ego more than others, but we all have one. Our egos are there to protect us, right? That's what they're there for, and we all need them. But egos do not do well in moments of uncertainty. And in the face of transformation, the entire blueprint before you is blank. It's all uncertain. There is no map. There's no road map you're following. You don't know if you're going north, east, west, or south. You just know an outcome you're trying to get to, and how you get there is your destiny. You get to just determine how you do that. And what that does is it makes everyone feel a bit uncertain. And in the organizations that I have been just so blessed to work in, the individuals start to become a bit protected. This is mine. I don't want it to change. It's okay if everything else changes, but what I'm working on doesn't need to change. Everyone's
Mm,
happy to nominate someone else's team's change. No one is happy for their thing to change. So the resistance is not the system. Systems actually are the easiest part. That's the irony of the job that I do. The irony of the job that I do is that I own the systems, and that's the easiest part, but I spend way more time convincing everyone of the process, policies, and decisions that need to be made in order for the systems to be really good. But you have to understand both, and that's what kinda goes back to our earlier point. Having perspective, I think that's what
mm,
makes me love what I do. Having perspective of sales and being able to put myself in the shoes of a seller or of a partner or of a customer success manager or of a sales engineer or whatever the case may be allows me to, with my team, influence the right transformation and hopefully get over this hurdle of the people part is definitely what causes transformations to stall or for people to burn out. Because we do sometimes get trapped in decision rewrite, what I call it. We made the decision, everyone signed off on the decision, we sent out the email that says the decision's been made, and then 2 months later, we're revisiting the decision. You can't do that, you just have to go. You
mm,
have to go, you have to go, and you have to trust that the initial decisions that everyone said they were going with are fine, and then if it turns out at the end they're not, okay, that's we'll change, but you can't change them mid-project, right? You have to actually
mm.
see it through. You have to believe in what you're driving and what you're transforming, right?
Awesome. That's a good segue to my next section where I want to talk about people.
Yeah,
And in a world that is increasing its investment in artificial intelligence, you are known to heavily invest in your people. You have
yeah,
built leadership programs, the Plus T program, where you do TED style talks and a 360-degree program. Can you talk more about why do you believe investing in people is critical, and talk more about your programs, the impact that they are having?
yeah. I mean, I think all of us are wondering what is the end game for AI? No one knows.
No one knows.
Anyone who says they know today is lying. We don't know. We have no idea,
True.
right? And I think because we don't know is why we all feel a sense of fear, right? It's the fear of the unknown.
Mhm.
But I do think that fundamentally, people are people. And we all need to figure out what are our superpowers because we all have different ones. And what do we want to be known for? The reason that I invest in the Plus D program and many other programs specifically for my team is that I think a lot of us chart a career without understanding what it is we're trying to achieve. And I call it our legacy.
Mm,
Um, I had a very unfortunate thing happen to me in my mid 30s, which is that I lost my father suddenly. He wasn't sick. He just passed away.
mm,
And I realized through the grief process that my dad had left a legacy. And I don't know if my dad ever um, defined the legacy what he wanted to leave, but it has led me on a mission to help everybody understand that our careers are really a legacy. That's what it is. It's not I was on this project or I worked at that company or I had this title. That's not what your career is. Your career is the legacy you leave. And what is a legacy? It's how you make other people feel and how you show up for them every single day. So in the age of artificial intelligence, yes, we see it every day. Code can be written, very, very good code, right? Good quality. We can do testing with artificial intelligence. We can do almost anything. We make images, we can record videos, all the things that no one would have thought possible even 10 years ago. It's all
yeah.
happening. It's not just it can happen, it's happening. But at the end of the day, we, the humans, we're what's teaching artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence is coming from us. The intelligence behind it is actually us. So how do we, as humans, lean into what we are? Who are
Mm,
we? And how do we know what we want to be, what we want our legacy to be? What did we stand for? How do we want to be remembered? Because artificial intelligence is never going to replace that. Never. So I want my team to feel completely sure of why they're showing up to work. This is what I'm trying to do. And then if they know that, then artificial intelligence doesn't become something they're fearful of. It becomes a partner. And I think if we all look at artificial intelligence as a partner, we're going to find that we are more efficient, we are more effective, all the things that you hear on every, news outlet every day. And we will find out that we haven't lost the human touch. Because at the end of the day, we are social creatures, and my success and my reason for being here and my love is because I get to talk to people like you and my family and my friends. It has nothing to do with the fact that I'm typing on a keyboard or speaking into my phone or talking to Siri, right? All
Yeah,
of that is part of my life, but that is not what defines me. And so
right.
I'm just trying to help my team connect with what are all the soft skills that are needed, all of the thought processes that I need to hone in on in my brain that allows me to achieve my legacy. Because I think if we achieve our legacies, we're going to have amazing careers right beside artificial intelligence.
Awesome. I have a follow up to this, and
Yeah.
this we are close to Women's Day, and this is a bit related to that. I was reading Sheryl Sandberg's book on Lean In, right? A very powerful, one of my favorite books. She talks about a pattern where she calls it as leaving before you leave. The
Yes.
tendency to pull back from ambitious paths in anticipation of barriers that haven't arrived yet.
Yep.
She was writing specifically about women in the workforce, and I think there's something profound about it. But you have built a path from IBM to today VP at Cisco. It seems without pulling back. But my question is, in this era, right? You spoke about it in your last question. Do you see professionals broadly, not just women, doing a version of leaving before they leave? Like with everything going around in the industry today, pulling back from their domain, from their identity, their sense of expertise, even before the disruption has actually arrived. What do you say to them?
Yeah, I do think that's happening, and I think it's governed mostly by fear. And I think there is still a contingency of people who think if I just stay under the fray, this wave will pass, and then I
Yeah,
can raise my head up and continue on. I think the reality is that that won't be the case. We hear every day that AI is going to take our jobs.
yeah,
I think people are going to be replaced by people who use AI. So I think if you're not embracing it, then that's going to be a problem for you, not because it's going to replace you, but because you need it. I say this to my team all the time, which is that when I first started experimenting with I found it a bit frustrating. Um, it was marginally helpful for me. I didn't really know what I was doing. Let's face it, there's not like a fantastic training manual on what to do. There's so many things you could possibly do. But I kept at it because I've
uh-huh,
always been one to believe that there's something to be learned in every experiment. So I called it my great AI experiment, right? And I kept at it. And now I'm to a point where I literally can't function in my job if I'm not using it, right? It's become my left hand. I'm right-handed. So I say it's my left hand because my left hand's kinda useless anyway. So I call it my left hand, and I don't feel threatened by it in any way. But what I do know is that it has made me a better associate. It's made me a better leader. And in some ways, it's made me a better person because it's able to give me things that I could not have found on my own. I couldn't have done the research and the time that it would have taken me to learn those things any other way. And so I love it. And I think it's a great partner. But I think to your point, are people, you know, pulling away because they think there's a perception that somehow they're not gonna be needed, and therefore they're just gonna
mhm,
already check out. For sure, that's happening. You asked me what would I say to those people. I would say to those people, for sure, checking out right now is gonna mean you get left behind. I'm of the mantra, "No one left behind, no child left behind," right? Let's make sure that you're not left behind. Lean in, not out, just as Cheryl said, and understand that today, AI is what you make of it. And I think I challenge my team with this I would say almost on a weekly basis. They might say a daily basis. I'll say weekly. I think right now those of us who are in the tech industry, we have the opportunity to chart what future tech looks like
Mm,
right now. Why are we waiting for someone else to do it? Let's go all in. Let's figure out how to do this right now. Define what our role of the next 10 years is going to look like, and don't be afraid of it because it's going to happen anyway. Fear is not going to help here.
makes sense. And you might fail, you might make mistakes, but as you said earlier, move fast.
You will fail.
You
And
will
that's
fail.
what teaches us, right? That's what teaches it's okay to fail. Fail's not a bad thing. I tell this to my kids all the time. I'm like, it's okay to fail. You just can't quit, right?
Yeah.
Just don't
Yeah.
quit. Yeah.
This is so powerful, Chandra. I want to switch gears and uh, talk about the growth imperatives that we talk at Growth Arc. At Growth Arc, we think when we look at professional growth and also when we build solutions for a client, we focus on three imperatives: build smart, architecture led solutions, scale with speed, and stay relevant. So, even for a professional development perspective, I think these three matter and how you grow. My question is like, how do I become a smart version of myself? How do I keep myself updated, motivated in this AI era? A friend of mine had told me when I graduated and finished my MBA that think of yourself as a product and try to sell yourself.
Mhm.
Similar to what you said, think like a CEO and then
Yeah.
approach every problem. What do you tell people that how do we become better version of ourselves and be that solution? Like if you are in the cookie market, we are competing against the best Oreos of the world. What's
Yeah,
your
you're speaking my language. Like, we love Oreos in this family, and actually, it's a fantastic segue into how I'll answer the question, which is, I think, when you think of yourself as a product, right? That's what you just mentioned, right? That's a fantastic way of looking at your career. The first thing that you have to do is establish your brand, and I think to stay relevant means first defining who are you? What is your brand? Right? If you haven't defined your brand, I like to tell my team, trust me, it's already been defined for you. Because if you don't know what you want your brand to be, you're still already creating enough interactions every day that a brand is being built around you.
Mm,
So, what you should do is harness the fact that that's going to happen and determine what do you want your brand to be, and then make a short list of what are the qualities I must exhibit every single day to start to solidify my brand so that my brand becomes a habit. You used Oreos as an example. My kids, when I take them to the supermarket and we go down the cookie aisle, will only look for a blue bag with white writing. I don't care how many other cookies are on the shelf. That's what they want because that brand, Oreo, has become something that they trust. They know how it's gonna taste, they know the texture, everything about it is the same every single time, and they love that. And so if we think of ourselves that way in the game of relevancy, we as humans like consistency. We like routine.
absolutely.
We
Uh-huh.
typically go to bed at the same time, we put our shirt on the same way, we tie our shoes the same way because we like consistency. So if our brand is not consistent or if we haven't defined it, therefore we sort of show up haphazard with all of the people we're working with and trying to influence every day, we're going to have a much harder time growing a career. So I would say one thing for sure that everyone should do in the age of AI is don't forget that you have a brand. And whether you define it or someone defines it for you is your choice. I think you should define it yourself and stay true to it and evolve it as your career evolves.
This is truly powerful. I'm enjoying this conversation so much. Thank you, Chandra.
Of course.
So our next segment is a fun rapid fire round.
Okay.
So I'll shoot some straight questions at you. I
Yeah,
don't want you to think much, no overthinking, right? And say whatever comes to your mind in a sentence or two.
sure.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. First one. What's the best career advice you have ever received?
Certainly, the best career advice is say yes. And what I mean by that is when somebody asks you to do something, don't overthink it. Don't talk yourself out of it. Say yes. Just do it. You will learn something. You may hate it, but you will learn the most things from saying yes. You will learn nothing from saying no.
Awesome. One skill that artificial intelligence will absolutely never replace.
I think artificial intelligence will never replace human creativity. I don't think it'll ever become as creative as a human.
Okay. Finish the sentence. The biggest myth about transformation is.
Oh, I think the biggest myth about transformation is that it is hard. I actually think transformation is easy if everyone is aligned to it. Alignment is hard. Transformation is easy.
That's an interesting perspective. Okay. Next, what do you know that you wish you had known at the start of your career?
I wish I had known at the start of my career that um, I am my own advocate. I spent many parts of my career thinking someone else was going to help me grow into the next thing. Depending on managers, depending on other leaders, depending on sponsors, mentors, all the things that are important. But at the end of the day, I wish that much earlier in my career, I had realized that my career is mine to own and I should just go. Just go and do and stop waiting for someone else to give me a voice. I have a voice, I need to find it and use it.
This is so inspiring. Next question. You have authored and illustrated few books. Where
Yeah.
do you get the time and where does the creative world come from?
Yeah, I mean, I see the one thing that I tell everybody is that the best thing I ever did was stop watching TV. Now, I know that's unpopular for people who are binge watchers of shows. My husband's one of those, but I am not. I say this to my kids all the time. We all have the same amount of time in a day. I don't have more time than you have.
Yeah.
How we choose to use that time is the difference between someone who gets a lot of things done and a person who gets a little bit done. So, my days are very structured, and I begin every Sunday with a list of here's everything I want to get accomplished this week. And it's a long list. And instead of looking at it as dread, right, I look at it as opportunity. And so I say, all right, I want to get all these things done this week. How am I going to make it happen? And I just like a Tetris puzzle with I have an EA that helps me, but like a Tetris puzzle, we figure out how to fit all these things in. And I would say the last piece of advice I would give everyone is that, I mentioned earlier that I lost my dad in my mid 30s, but he used to say something that didn't mean a lot to me, uh, when I was younger, but has started to mean a lot more to me as I've gotten older, which is that you need to start your day and end your day doing something only for yourself. Because if you don't, you end up living your life for everyone else. So you start your day and end your day doing something only for yourself. Because if you don't, you end up living your life for everyone else. I do think there's a lot of power in that. So we get caught up in our jobs, our kids, our families, our hobbies that other people are involved in. But do you really take the time every day to do something for yourself? And I think, especially as a working mom, it's hard. It's hard to do,
Yeah.
right? But I have found that by doing it, it keeps my soul feeling really balanced and allows me to do the things. So you just mentioned books. Yes, I've done books. I do many different things. Love to make candles, paint, all kinds of things. But I do that as part of my starting of day or ending of day ceremonies so that I know I'm doing something for me every single day.
This is so powerful. I'm feeling like I'm attending a career coaching session, Chandra. Most every answer is so powerful. I have a 2-year-old daughter and we've stopped watching TV. I think I should just continue doing that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I mean, the more you can keep yourself out of TV, like I get it, it's fun, but it does waste a lot of time.
Yeah.
And you find that the tactile world becomes much harder to introduce your kids to as they get older because so much is digitized. And I think the tactile world is what gives us the advantage in life. It's not technology, it's the
Right.
tactile world that gives us the advantage. So, for sure, just for your own advice, stay away from TV as much as you can. I think you'll find that you'll be glad you did as they get older.
Awesome. Last two questions. I know about your passion. You're a passionate advocate for sea turtle conservation, right?
Yes.
Fundraising, volunteering, awareness. What is it about the turtles that interests you?
you know, I think there's a couple things. One, it does give me a connection back to my dad. My dad was in the Coast Guard, and my dad cared very much about the oceans and all the things that live in the oceans. I live in North Carolina, and our coastline is amazing and beautiful, and we have so many amazing creatures that live both on the shore and in the ocean right off our coast. But sea turtles are endangered around the world, and they're endangered almost exclusively because of humans. And it's a very easy thing to reverse if everyone cared about what was happening. And so I'm on a mission to make sure that the dreams that my dad put in me around conserving these beautiful creatures passes on to my kids. Turtles, in many species, they don't actually reach an age where they can reproduce until they're almost 30 years old, and they return to the beaches where they were born. And, so you can imagine what an amazing thing that is. They've not been back in 30 years, yet somehow they're able to return to that same beach. But I like to think that the turtles we're, making sure make it to the ocean every summer are those offspring of the turtles that my dad and I made sure were making it to the beaches in the summer when I was a kid. And I want my kids to feel the same way as they get older. They have an amazing impact on the environment. Their egg casings, remain in the sand, and their egg casings become fertilizer for the sea oats that live in the sand, that protect the beaches, that allow us to have the most amazing experiences. But they're just the most amazing thing, and I hate the fact that they're endangered because of us. I feel like we should do better as a society.
This is like a sweet legacy from your father that you're carrying and passing it on.
Yes, that is the goal.
Nice. My last question, one book or a podcast that changed how you think.
Yeah, there's a one book that there's a lot of books that I really like, but I think, my favorite book is a book by Cy Wakeman called, Reality-Based Leadership. And I had an opportunity to meet Cy actually at one point as well. The book is brilliantly written, and she's also just a very funny person. But she talks about the drama that we create in our heads that takes our careers sideways, and how
Mm.
to reduce that drama and allow ourselves to see beyond it and above it instead of marching through it and identifying drama before it cuts you off at the pass. I think in organizations big and small, drama does tend to hamper our well-being, right?
Mm.
We take other people's drama, other people's stories, we apply ourselves to it. We go tell our spouses about it, our friends about it, and suddenly we've taken something that didn't even happen to us and we've made it part of our lives. And it's not super healthy. And I think she does a great job of describing that culture and helping you see how to identify it and cut it off so that it doesn't hopefully demotivate you. And so I really appreciate that. There are many books, but I would say that's one that I look at a lot because I think almost everybody gets caught up in it at some point in their career, and I
What's the name
certainly
again?
have.
What's the name of the book?
Called Reality Based Leadership, and it's by Cy Wakeman. Yeah, it's a good one.
Awesome. So that's the end of our rapid fire round, Chandra, and it was a very interesting conversation. But this is my last question to you on the podcast today, and I want you to take your time on this one. If someone is watching this right now, this podcast, and they are at crossroads, right? Maybe they are early in their career and feeling overwhelmed, or they are mid career and wondering if they are on the right path. What's the one thing you want them to hear? What's your message for them?
I think I think a couple things. One, I would say take a deep breath, and then the next thing I would say is keep moving. And I think the last thing I would say is find your voice. I mentioned this a bit earlier, but I'm going to talk about it in a little bit deeper level to answer your question. I spent about the first 8 to 10 years of my career wanting nothing more than to have a voice. I
Mm.
felt like I had things to add, but in my mind, I was being overlooked. No one was asking my opinion. Decisions were being made that I just thought were bad. I was waiting for my manager to, allow me to speak. weird things like that was going on for me, and, I realize now that, I had a voice all along, I just wasn't using it. No one was holding me back. No one was saying, "Don't speak up, Chandra." The person that was doing that was me. And so no matter where you are in your career right now, whether you're early or mid-career or even late career and you're feeling like, what have I just, fallen into and why is the world changing so much and I'm scared? Know that your voice is still there and you have to
Mm.
find it and use it if you haven't. And using your voice automatically means you start to build trust and relationships. And relationships are what makes your career. So amplify your voice, use the relationships you have, and get moving. Staying still or pretending like this is a wave that will pass that you don't have to pay attention to is going to end badly. Don't do that. Get moving and use your voice. There is a new place for every single person on this planet in the world of AI. No one can describe it yet, which is what makes it scary. But just like corporate transformation projects that I've done for the last 30 years, it all works out in the end. There is a place for us, and we will all land in that place. But for now, we got to keep moving and learning. Never, ever stop learning. One of the things I do every Sunday is figure out what is the topic I want to learn this week. What do I want to learn something more about? It may
Mhm.
be something with my job, it may not be, but what do I do to keep that thirst for learning and sense of urgency going? I think that's what we have to do. So, nutshell advice for your viewers: find your voice, use it if you haven't. And if you are using it, keep using it and keep moving. And don't put your head in the sand like somehow this is going to pass. This moment is not going to pass. This moment will pass. You either are with the moment or you get left behind. And I don't want anybody to get left behind.
Chandra, each of your answer has been so inspiring. It felt like attending a master class on how to navigate transformation. I'm so happy that we had this conversation. I hope you had a good time.
I did. Thank you so much for asking me to join you for sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being a guest on Growth Talks. It's
Yeah,
a
of
pleasure to
course.
have you.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye.